So the Game Awards 2024 is taking place tomorrow evening, and I'm not watching. I know a lot of people call my bluff during Gamescom opening night live, where after that event, I said that I was done watching Jeff Keighley events live because I just didn't feel like they respected my time necessarily. And a lot of people were like, oh, you'll be back for the Game Awards. But in all of my years of YouTube and even by extension journalism stuff, writing for Nintendo Enthusiasts and stuff like that, I would say my interest in this year's showcase is at its absolute lowest point. And with that being said, I'm just not interested in watching a 4-hour presentation that allegedly celebrates the year of video games. And there's a myriad of reasons why. Now, before we get into the reasons, I do want to say that if you're excited for the Game Awards, like, I'm happy for you. If you're looking forward to it, I'm happy for you. And maybe I will be dramatically wrong with this. Maybe it'll end up being a great show that definitely celebrates video games, has some interesting announcements, but I already see cracks in the foundation of this show, and it seems like every year I seemingly see these same sort of issues that we have with this showcase, and now more and more people are kind of waking up to it. Let's talk about nominees themselves, because like I said in my video on Monday, this is not representative of the best of 2024, because if it was, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle would be nominated for a lot of awards. Best action adventure game, game of the year, like, it would be up there with a lot of these nominees. But of course, it's not, because it came out too late in 2024. And like I said in that previous video, the whole reason that it came out quote unquote too late is because the Game Awards and Jeff Keighley by extension want that December ad revenue. They want to make money in December because ad revenue in January and beyond is not very good. Advertisers aren't spending as much money in the month of January because there's no holiday to celebrate. There's no sort of thing to force people out there into the world and buy a bunch of stuff and spend money on stuff that they probably don't even need. So because of that, we have this show in December. And it's ridiculous because video games are still coming out in the month of December that are not able to be nominated this year. Now, you can nominate them for next year, but I'm sorry, that just doesn't hold the same sort of weight as it does if the game was nominated this year. I would assume that next year would be a much stronger year, especially when you're looking at what sort of things are considered game of the year for 2024. And with a stronger year, plus this game coming out at the tail end of 2024, you could throw it into 2025, but nobody's really going to care about it that much. Nobody's going to be hyped for it. It's not going to be in the front of somebody's mind to think, oh, wow, Indiana Jones is a really great game for 2025 that came out in 2024. Like, it's just ridiculous. And it shows you cracks in the foundation of the whole system of the Game Awards. Go check out that video I made on Monday if you want my thoughts a little bit deeper on this subject and on Indiana Jones, the video game, as a video game. But it's absolutely ridiculous that this game hasn't been nominated for anything because it came out too late. But speaking of nominations, I look at these nominations every year and I get more and more confused about things. Let me highlight something that I think is a problem here. So, best debut indie game. For the best debut game created by an independent studio, we have Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. Now, you could choose any sort of game you want from this list. I don't really care. However, only one of these games is nominated for Game of the Year, and that would be Balatro. So if Balatro doesn't win this, how does that make any sort of sense? Obviously, it is the best debut indie game because it was so good that it was thrown into Game of the Year category. So if anything else but Balatro wins this, how are we deciding who wins things? Because this is a potential game of the year. So by extension, it is the best debut indie game. And then you have the best independent game: Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. Once again, Balatro needs to win this because this is the best independent game. You have said that it is the best independent game by putting it in the Game of the Year conversation. And I have a strange feeling that that's not going to be the case. I have a strange feeling that one of those categories is going to go to another game. It's not going to go to Balatro. And if that is indeed the case, then who are picking these games? Who are nominating these games? Who are deciding, what is the quality game and what is the game that, you already see where I'm going with this. You already see where I'm going with this, because let's take a look at the jury. The jury here. The people that are picking what are the games of the year. Digital Trends, Easy Allies, Entertainment Weekly, Game Rant, Game Ranks, Gamer Tag Radio, Games Beat, GameSpot, Giant Bomb, IGN, Inverse, The Jeff Gertzman Show, Kinda Funny, LA Times, MinMac, New York Times, PC Games, Pride.com, Polygon, Rolling Stone, The Atlantic, Touch Arcade, National Public Radio, Variety. Now, are these people that you seek out, and I can't speak for the global things because I'm not someone who's familiar with global entities and stuff like that. These may be very big publications where they are, but like, do you go to like The Atlantic for your video game news, National Public Radio, Pride, LA Times, Gamer Tag Radio? Like, are these big enough entities to be deciding who is a winning factor? Do you think that these companies are representative of the current video game landscape and, how video games should be talked about and what sort of things are good and bad within the industry? Because I see a lot of brown nosing in these nominees. I see a lot of people that aren't really, super respected in what they do and not really indicative of like video games in 2024 and beyond. Now, I don't know what the solution would be because of the fact that, a lot of these places are owned by the same people, and even the independent, things that you see on here, they all just want the care package from the company. But like, I don't know what the answer is, but I do think that there needs to be a shakeup within this because of the fact that these are the people that are voting and deciding, and 90% of the vote comes from these people, from the LA Times, from the New York Times, from Rolling Stone. Like, is that really good for the industry? Is that really representative of what gamers want? I don't know. I'm not trying to diminish accomplishments here. I know I came off a little bit rude, but I just feel like things have changed drastically, since we've started the Game Awards. And whereas some of these publications and some of these websites and some of these, shows used to have a level of success or used to have a level of knowledge within the scene, I feel like that has changed dramatically over the past few years, and you've seen that time and time again. Like, if you say IGN's a large company with many different branches now because of the purchasing of other different video game websites that we know about, and now they're starting to dismantle them, such as GamesIndustry.biz. But who from IGN is voting on stuff? Like, you can't just say a massive website that has lots of tentacles attached to it and say, oh, well, they're voting. But who from IGN? Because there are some problematic people at IGN. If you go back and look at some of the stories that were written that were essentially hit pieces on video games and stuff like that, it's like, is that really the move? And then, of course, you have the other aspect of the Game Awards, because we all know that the awards themselves are probably the least important thing for certain individuals that created this show. It's more about the spectacle, the guests, the surprise announcements. Let's talk about the guests first here. We have a star-studded lineup of guests. Of course, Kojima will be there because Daddy Keeley needs Daddy Kojima at these events. And, to be fair, I think Kojima will have something to show off at this event, a game, Death Stranding 2. Maybe it's Xbox game or something like that. But like Snoop Dogg, now I like Snoop Dogg. You know, I think The Dogfather is a very, very underrated album. I really like some of the Gold Rush. Gold Rush is one of my favorite Snoop Dogg songs of all time. But it's 2024. Do I need a Snoop Dogg presentation taking up time? Isn't he an expensive person to book? Like, I'm sure he's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. The Muppets, once again, the Muppets are at the Game Awards. And it's like, okay, Jeff, we get it. You really like the Muppets. But what does this do for gaming? What does this do for the show? How does this make the show better? You know, you're still going to cut off people that win awards, their acceptance speeches, so that Snoop can have enough time, so that the Muppets can have enough time, so that Kojima can have enough time. And it's like, is this representative of video games? Like, when you think of video games, do you think of Snoop and Muppets? I don't. Maybe I'm the minority in this, though. Maybe the Muppets, you know, they're still, and I like the Muppets. Muppet Babies, that show was a bop. But there's a time and a place for everything. There is a time and a place for these things to be showcased. There's a time and a place for these things to be talked about. And I don't think that this is the time nor the place, in my personal opinion. You know, that's just how I feel about it. But the bigger thing is that everyone is looking forward to these announcements that are allegedly going to be there. People are already going crazy. And let's be real, that is the focal point of this show. It is not about the awards. It's about the pageantry, and it's about the announcements to get people excited for the future of gaming. And this year, just like every other year, we're already getting reports from people that there's going to be 2 big announcements that are going to make people say, holy shit, but maybe they're not going to be that big of an announcement. Like, of course there's going to be announcements there, but I don't have to watch a 4-hour show to see those announcements, because within the announcement itself, it'll be posted on social media. Just scroll through your social media feed. You don't have to watch the show to see the announcements. I don't need to see the cut to the reaction of the people in the crowd, people who don't even work in the game industry anymore, who've been unemployed for a year plus, you know, getting hyped over an announcement or something like that. I can look at an announcement myself on my timeline and take away something from that without having to watch the live show. I don't really think there's a benefit to watching the live show anymore. You know, I feel like it's very samey. You know, you don't have that sense of wonder anymore. And I do question the validity of how big these leaks are going to be. But I could think of something better to do with 3.5, 4 hours of my time than watch a show that doesn't know what it is. Is it an award show? Is it an entertainment show? Is it a show to show you the future of gaming? Is it a show to show you Muppets? I'm out. And if you're looking forward to it and it ends up being a great show, I will take my L. I will say that I was wrong, that I shouldn't have doubted the Dorito Pope Master himself. But I have a feeling that I'm not going to be wrong about this. I have a feeling that I'm not going to regret not watching the show. But that's just me. You know, like I said, different strokes for different folks. If you're excited for it, I'm happy for you. And I hope that it is a good show. You know, I don't think video games needs a bad show, especially after this year with, you know, looking at the Game of the Year nominees, looking at the state of the industry itself, layoffs, closures, absolute catastrophic failures, the industry kind of crumbling in on itself, even though everyone says that there is no video game crash this year. But, you know, so many companies are downsizing, shifting. Ubisoft looks to be on their last legs. But no, the industry's fine, folks. And of course, we won't talk about any of that. We won't talk about any of that at the showcase because, hey, we got to shill some stuff. We got to shill whoever sent us the most money to show off a game here. I'm sure there'll be lots of Chinese developed games here. And shout out to China, man. Y'all got the money? Spend that money. Take over the Game Awards. Take over to the Dorito Pope himself. Show people that he's just about money. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.